You fly?
No. This is my first thing for the day. How's everybody doing?
Pretty good.
Good?
Tired.
Hmm?
I'm tired.
Tired? Yeah, same. Halfway through the week. More than halfway.
What's your working weekend?
Huh?
What's your work weekend?
I refused to this weekend, so. Last week I worked more than I slept, so this week dialed it back a little bit, yeah. Sorry, my eyes are like a little googly. I have like chameleon eyes. I'm very tired, so bear with me.
You don't have your matcha?
Huh?
No matcha?
No, I didn't have time. I almost ran out of gas on the way here, so I had to go get gas instead.
We're almost done that. You didn't do gas station coffee?
Huh?
You didn't want to do gas station coffee?
No, I didn't even have like time to fill up. Like I literally put like $10 in just to get here. Yeah, it was one of those mornings. Yesterday we talked about loss procedures. Who can tell me what the 5 Cs are?
Circle climb. Serve. Confess. Call. Lie.
Cool. And if for some reason that doesn't work, what sort of technique can we use to figure out where we're at?
VOR triangulation.
Cool.
Or cell phone.
Or cell phone, yeah, whatever, whatever works. Cool, so we sat in on a baby sim and we did a VR triangulation. Would you guys like to do one more of those and one of you guys do it? Or do you like to do one more of those and watch me do it again? Or do you not want to do one more of those and move on?
I'd like to do one more of those. Probably see you go through it again, then maybe one of us jump on.
Okay, cool.
That's me.
Do that. And then what we are going to do afterwards, before moving into the G3X and the 650 presentation, we're going to talk about what we do then after we triangulate where we are with the VORs. I mean, very briefly, that process is going to be called a diversion. So at that point, typically when you triangulate where you are using VORs and you figure out roughly geographically where you're at, you're then typically asked to divert to an airport. And the few things that you need to figure out are how far from where you're at roughly to the airport, how long it's going to take, what's your general like course or direction to get there, and then number 4, fuel burn. So those would be the things you need to do following the VOR triangulation. And it's pretty simple. There's just a few basic formulas that I'll write out on the board once we get back from the baby sim. But because we fly a Sling, there are easier ways to do it. So we will go through like the manual way to do it by hand using good old calculator, and then we'll do the cheat code method using our GTN 650. So for those on Zoom, we're gonna step away for a little bit to go to the baby sim. Sorry, you'll miss out on it, but that's what we're gonna be doing, so.
I was curious, because we have more slides this time than before, so I don't know. Might be better to start with that. Really just a bunch of review on.
Yeah, so a lot of these slides for today are mostly gonna be like just a picture and pointing out, this is what this is, this is what this is. So let's start with the baby sim, just so we can kind of continue off what we were doing yesterday, and then we'll get into these after we go to divergence. So let's go ahead. I will meet you guys in the room with the baby sim.
No classroom today?
No, they're just using a basin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is all of them
Oh, nice.
there. Yeah.
What for? Being your son?
Yeah, I think they like lost, lost seizures, so like it's like doing 5 seasons.
Yeah, shit.
I don't really want to be teaching this class soon.
I know, right? Actually, I really do like sitting in front of people and like teaching, so it's not like that bad, but
Yeah.
yeah. I know, right? Dude, fuck, man.
Let's go. Weird, bro, very weird.
How are you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Good, good.
Where'd they go?
Basin.
Okay, so we're going to season speaking. Yo.
Hey, what up? So what? Where you at? Yeah.
What's B and the report?
Oh, that's just a part of the page, she just read it.
Oh, yeah, I was about to say, man. I was like, what the
B,
fuck
bro.
is B, man? Interesting.
Yeah, I'm learning. I see, I think that. But it's not really the big, like. Yeah, I'm reading.
I think so. You did that well, right? Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah, now we can see the thousand. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that is.
Zero.
Later.
Hey, how's it going? Good. Yeah, gonna go get lunch tonight at home. Nice. Yep. Good shit. See you tomorrow? Yep. I gotta decide what home. Alright, later guys, see you very much.どうする最近調子はどうですか？まあ、今日飛べるかな、選手。もうその調子ワンチャンいけんじゃないの？めっちゃいける。結局さ、ライトタイム、アクチュアルタイムでさ、今日前に2回飛ぶってやって、ウェザーで外に行くから、タイムで、から、そう、ワンチャン観戦って、まあ、オーラルは、ズームとか、ね、フライトだけは、SX 受かれば、はい、進めれるよ。はいはい。いやー、このしのぎや、まあ、今週からなんか、一週間の旅行いいの。いや、最悪っすよね。じゃあ、その次の週間。そうです。俺4月3日からさ、でも、なるべく。いつ持っていくんですか？ 4 月9日の で、週間だけ。ああ、10月ごめん。で、11から逆に親が、
あ
だからまあまあまあ、ちょっと微妙やけど、まあ、どっちみちチェックラインで、5月
はい。
5月からしかできる動いするの。4月の難しい。
で、日本にいるから難しい。
あ、じゃなくて、多分予定入ってる感じって言ったら、その TP さんこだわらんかったの出身で。
はい。どっちかというとバリーさん。
うん、そうそう。5月ぐらいの話。
はい、そう4月に取れたらいいんですけ
うん。でコマーシャルっていうリクワイアメント、その間稼いでおいたらいいよ。
ど。このなんですか。
コマーシャルのリクワイアメントだね。
はいはい。
それをもう今のペイチェックさえ終わったら、多分終わらんでもそのフライト時間、ピックタイムとか稼ぐのもできるから、その辺それやっといたら、
まあ、一緒にクロスカントリー。
ああ、行こう。ピックタイム。
ピックタイムとクロスカントリータイム。
よいけるの、よいない。で、E さん、両方とも2人ともピックタイム。
はい。両方クロスカントリーとピックタイム。トータルタイム。あと、まあ、シミュレートとインストメントは半分。
ああ、そうね。あ、そっかそっか。フードつけんでもすげえ違い。なるほどね。あ、いい。
今週末行きたらいいんですけど、天気あんまり。
今週末って明日。あ、そっちで。朝やから。ああ、すごいですね。まあなんか、あれやん、フロント、コールドフロント。
来週末の。
来週末、そうやな。はい。からあれそうや。
まあ、とりあえず、オーラルだけ受けて、そこから、もう、これないんだったら、死ぬので、ガツンと言って、
まあね、フライトタイム稼ぎて。
はい
確か
そして、まあ、その後一緒に。Hello there. How are you?
What are you guys working on?
We are working on, we're just sitting in the class. Yeah. Just chilling in the back. You know, just like.
You guys are bad students.
No.
Prefer to sit in the back, make sure that no attention on you, you know?
No, I mean, like, we're just the smart students in the class.
Right, so you don't need to pay attention.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
They don't even know who we are. That's not who we are.
It's funny because it's pretty good. It's your R's that are a little bit like weird.
Really?
They're just a little weird. It's like
I
you're,
don't think so.
I don't know, you're trying to.
Sure.
Overwhelmed today, so.
Corey, how's your day going? Why are you looking at me like that?
Good, mate. How's your day going?
That's pretty good, actually.
No bad.
I'm actually an Australian spy, and that's just the truth is just coming out now. So
Oh, I'm actually a spy for the CIA.
If you serve, he doesn't like come with the Australian accent.
Yeah, I do.
yeah,
You just start serving all of a sudden you know Australian accent.
yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Cool. So that's VR triangulation, loss procedures, 5Ts, and diversion. Any questions, comments, concerns about that?
Good.
I have to confess, I don't get the ratio, figuring out the ratio.
So let me draw something out.
Divergent is the process of going through the triangulation in your place.
No, so that is the process of VOR triangulation. Diversion is, I intend to go to this airport, but for whatever reason, mechanical issues, bad weather at that airport, or I ended up lost, I'm now diverting and changing my location to a closer airport. This is our VOR, right? Let's just, for the example, this is going to be Julian VOR. VOR is used for navigation. How it's used for navigation is that it has frequencies that it transmits, right? So you can imagine somebody's on a walkie-talkie saying, hello, hello, can anybody hear me? Somebody's on a different walkie-talkie receiving that message, right? So it's the same thing with VORs. VORs use frequencies called radials. So radials extend out and away from the VOR. How many degrees are in a circle? So that means there's going to be 300, I'm not going to draw 360, but there's going to be 360 radials that extend from each VOR. They're orientated to magnetic north, meaning that the one going straight up is going to be 360 degrees or 000. The one pointing this way is going to be oriented east, so 090, and then all the way to this way, and this way, and so on, right? So there's going to be one radial every degree, so there's going to be the 001 radial, 002, 003, and so on, all the way around.
Yeah.
Radials extend outbound from the VOR. So when we do loss procedures and we hit sync course, that's going to center the needle and point us in the direction, give us the course to take us to the VOR. So if we're somewhere right here, right, and we tune to Julian VOR, we listen to Morse code, we see the three-letter identifier, our CDI looks fine.
Here,
Who hears? What about him?
Because you were the only one that liked about the techno.
Oh, yes, they're here.
Yeah.
And we're getting the Duchess too, I heard.
Correct.
So right here, this is where we are. If you tune to Julian and you hit sync course, what it's going to do, it's going to give you it's going to make your CDI look like this in green, obviously. That's for VLOC, right? This is a 2 flag. So this is telling you it'll look like that, right? So when you hit sync course, it'll center this, give you a 2 flag, and your course will be 270, assuming we're right here. So it's telling you that for you to travel to Julian VOR from where you're at, you have to fly a course of 270, a westbound course, right? So the course is the direction to the VOR, the radial is the direction outbound from the VOR.
That makes sense.
So if our course is 270, all we have to do is either look at the tail to see what that's pointing at, or we just find the reciprocal, right? So 270 minus 200 gives us 070 plus 20 gives us 90, 090. So that radial extending outbound is just going to be the opposite of whatever course we sync to the Julian VOR.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yeah, so it's like minus 200 plus 20.
So however you want to get to it, that's the thing. All you're doing is finding the opposite of this number.
Sure.
So if you want, you can add or subtract 180, which in my opinion, that's a little hard to do while you're trying to fly a plane, right? You're taking weird numbers, 270 minus 180. Do you know what that is? I can't just do that without, 0, 1, 17, 9, 0, right? So the easy way is by using a set number. can you add or subtract 200? So what's 270 minus 200? What's 70 plus 20? Boom, 0 and 0.
That's what was, I'm like, where's the 200 and the 20?
So yeah, there's a rule, 220. You're either gonna add or subtract 200, whatever makes sense. Would it make sense to add 200 to 270? That'd give us 470. That's not in a circle. So in this case, we're going to subtract 200 from that number. And then whatever you did here, you just do the opposite here. So plus. Or you can look at the tail and see what that's pointed to. Obviously, if it's a weird number like 013, are you going to be able to look at that tail and see the exactly where it's at? Probably not. So this rule kind of works out better if you want to get the exact reciprocal. Good? Make more sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. What time is it?
Well,
Okay, I'll take a 10-minute break and then we'll go into the G3X and GTN 650.
I fly at 1. but-
Okay, yeah, just make sure you go check in. You can just get up and leave whenever you need to.
You can check in now.
Yeah, you can do that. Just her. She won't come back. Yeah.
Whoa, where'd everybody go?
Break.
Rick,
Break.
Rick.
Break.
Oh,
Look at
Rick.
your face.
Well, I don't have. Sorry. I have some, so Alex sent me some. Specifically. So, I'll probably, we're gonna have a meeting now, soon, and hopefully, each of us, and all these things. And I probably will sit down and just, Valley. Because I can just get. Thank you. Yeah. Good luck. Thank you.
What else should I study for my solo stuff?
Everything that's in the solo phase check document. Have you seen that? That's it.
Should I make like flashcard for it or something?
Whatever works best for you.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, study methods are kind of a harder thing to teach for me. I took notes on everything. And I just went back and read it through, memorized it, and then had people ask me. So that's what worked for me. Doesn't mean it'll work for you.
Yeah.
Flashcards, I would say maybe while taking notes, I was maybe a little too lazy to also make flashcards. But if you have the time and you have the will, go ahead.
Yeah. I think I found a Quizlet one that's like
Mhm.
this Sling solo.
Hmm.
I think I might do that because that's how I did all my EMT stuff. There's a bunch of Quizlets on everything. And that's how I learned
Yeah.
all of it really fast. So if it's broken at 3,200 right now, we probably couldn't go out east.
If it's clear out east, you could stay on the 3,200 all the way out. But
Then go up after you get out there.
mhm. Yeah. It also depends what your instructor feels comfortable with. I'm a little more hesitant when the weather is bad like this, and I know it's gonna get bad at the end of the day.
Yeah. Because it turns back to marginal. Like right now it's VFR, but then the TAP says it's going back to marginal. Yeah, I mean, you can look out. We have overcast at 2,500 and then it's gonna be broken.
There's,
2 hours later.
There's a time when I was doing a nut.
You guys.
Hey, we're just on a break.
Oh, you are? Good, nice. How are you? I'm Jamie.
Hi.
Nice to meet you all.
Hey, Macho.
How you guys doing?
Good. how
Is
are
this
you?
PPL or IFI class? What time is it?
PPL, this swap, this class, I don't know why, normally PPL is at 9, but this one's at 11 now, so.
I don't know why they moved it. Maybe that was someone's preference?
I don't know.
I don't know.
This guy right here, he demanded it started at 11, so.
Looking for 9.
Beauty
sleeping.
Don't time me out.
We were discussing where to place you for a CFI and, because you haven't flown yet, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I'm on, they just put me on the schedule, call it.
Wonderful. Good. Okay, just making sure. Okay, good. Is Colin back from vacation?
I haven't seen it, but I see him on the schedule, so, yeah.
Hi, I'm Jamie. Hi, Jamie.
Nice wait for this guy. Okay, I don't want to interrupt.
No worries.
I'll-
Good seeing you.
I know, good seeing you too. We'll catch up.
I was in Torrance.
I brought a mechanic with me.
I heard.
I ain't gonna have you check the flying, I promise. I'm on it.
I'll believe it.
Okay, let's see.
Let's go.
You come back.
Whatever. I know, I don't care.
Cool, are we ready?
So you want.
No, she's like, I always forget her title. It's like not the director of training, it's the director of flight operations.
Okay.
So she like oversees everything, scheduling, training, all that. Yeah. She was friends with one of the owners.
Yeah, I wasn't sure, just accent and really should.
Yeah. But,
So Australian. So Australian.
mhm.
Why don't you just get 6 million? If you double pack it.
No, because when I get overwhelmed, I can just take one out instead of having to spit the whole thing out. Or if like, I'm like, oh, I haven't eaten today, like, 2 of them are really gonna do me dirty, I'm only gonna put 1 in, then I have that choice. All right. Let's move on. Emergency situation. You're at. We're gonna make a little more Gillespie. You are at KSEE Gillespie Field. It's an afternoon solo flight in 444 Echo Bravo. You start rolling onto runway 27 right for your 3rd solo flight. The METAR is reporting some nice crosswinds, and you want to go up and practice. You line up on the runway and apply power for takeoff. As you start rolling and past 30 knots, your engine starts running rough. The entire plane is vibrating rapidly. Suddenly, the engine stops altogether. What do you do? Yep, power idle, apply brakes as needed, exit the nearest taxiway, and secure the engine. So fuel selector valve off, pumps off, lanes off, master off. There's gonna be a flow that you're gonna learn, and it's sort of gonna go, it's gonna look like this, so. It's gonna be like a flow, like a reverse L, right? So you're gonna have your power here, your fuel selector, your pumps, your lanes, and then kind of down like this, your master, and then the key is somewhere down here. So all you're gonna do is do sort of a reverse L or a horseshoe, you can maybe say, an upside down horseshoe. Start from the power idle, apply brakes as needed, exit the runway, fuel selector valve off, pumps off, lanes off, master off, and the key you can remove from the ignition. Make sense? So with all these checklists, right, you're gonna read through it, look at the procedures, and you're gonna develop a flow. So that flow, right, obviously the checklist, you want to follow it in that order and you want to memorize the checklist, but you're going to have a flow. And my flow is doing this sort of reverse horseshoe or this like sort of upside down L. It just start from power, you go up, across, and then down. And that flow, there's going to be a flow for every procedure on the checklist. Engine fire, engine failure. Yeah.
So this would kind of do the same thing for an engine fire too, right?
Very similar, but I do
You turn
not
the
want
fuel
to,
selector off.
very similar, but I don't want to discuss that because there's no, as I mentioned the other day, I don't know what's right. Our POH and checklist are different. Austin did the checklist and the DP did not like that. Checklist should be something you follow. You're not going to pull out POH to look for the engine fire. You have your checklist readily available right there. So that's something that needs to be figured out. It's above my pay grade and I don't want to provide any flow or way of doing it when it might not be that way. So
The DP get upset about it?
so this DPE, Alex, he's very, very big on the POH. Doing everything by the POH. One of the things, soft field takeoff, have any of you gotten around to doing those yet?
Mhm.
No, so for soft field takeoffs, the whole point is you are taking off from a soft field. It could be grass, it could be dirt, be mud, it could be snow, whatever the case. It's a soft field, it's not concrete. So the biggest thing you don't want to do is get your nose stuck. You want to protect the nose, right? As soon as that nose digs in, you might flip forward. So how we do that is you're not supposed to stop. You're supposed to taxi onto the runway and keep it moving, no braking, minimal braking. You're gonna have the elevator all the way back, right? Because you want the nose wheel to lift off as soon as possible, and you're gonna keep that nose wheel in the air, sort of do a wheelie, and then lift off, so you don't get stuck. Well, our POH says to come to a complete stop and set the parking brake, give it full power, and go. So the same as our short field takeoff. But that method really defeats the purpose of a soft field takeoff. You'll never do it that way. You'll never completely come to a stop. You'll just sink into that mud surface. But Alex, the VP, wants to see it that way because that's how the POH says it. So that's something that we're trying to figure out, and I've been voicing my opinions and my complaints, especially with the engine fire, because the POH version says to do it one way, the checklist says to do it another way.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty terrible.
So that's something that I don't want to discuss because I honestly, I don't know, I don't have the right answer.
They're aware, so, right, everyone. And they're working towards solution.
I've reached out to the director of training and said that Alex wants to see the fire checklist done this way, but our checklist and POH are different. And I've talked to the DP directly and voiced my concerns and told him that I talked to the director of training. And he says, yeah, we need to figure that out. I'll reach out to them. So hopefully it gets figured out, but yeah.
That's, as long as there's forward motion towards that.
Oh, and trust me, Ford Motion is my middle name. All I do is put pressure to try to.
The long middle name you got there. Corey Ford.
It's actually Corey Miguel Ford Motion Mendez Burner. So, I'm kidding. But yeah, I really try to like fight for the right thing and to have it uniform, so everybody's on the same page. So I'm trying to do my part as
I
a
appreciate it.
new CFI. People only listen, so much, but I'm trying. Cool. Okay, so solution. I'm gonna read this like the hip Brad person that seemed to have wrote it. Engine failures always suck. The best place to have on is when you're on the ground at low airspeed. Obviously, you aren't going to try to take off after losing your only engine. While it seems simple enough to make sure you stay on the runway and come to a stop, you need to remind yourself to secure the engine. You have no idea why it failed or what it's doing. The engine could be on fire or about to catch on fire for all you know. It's important that after rejecting a takeoff because of an engine failure, you secure the engine by shutting off all its components. Without grabbing a checklist, you should know to grab the key, turn off the CDIs, turn off the aux fuel pumps, move fuel selector to 0. After this has been completed, exit the plane at least 20 feet behind it and wait for airport operations. So as we talked about, there's going to be that flow. Make sure you secure the engine.
What's this? Yeah, again.
That's gonna be like the lanes,
Okay.
the lane switches, yeah. Cool.
I have a question.
Yes.
I saw it on a YouTube video, this lady was coming in for landing and the throttle got stuck on full power.
That's a,
Kill the engine and like do your own.
Yeah,
Fuel
failure.
pumps off.
so in that situation, I would not necessarily stop the engine by turning the lanes off, but I would turn off the fuel pumps or put the fuel selector to close.
What was the,
I think it was a lady that she was coming in for, she was like a student pilot or something, coming in for a landing, and she realized throttle that was stuck on forward.
What does she do?
It was like such a short video, I didn't really see.
Because in my
I think it
opinion,
was a Cessna too, so it was a little.
yeah,
oh, yeah,
yeah. So in my opinion, what I would do in the Sling is I would close the fuel selector and or turn off the fuel pumps. If you turn off both pumps, that engine's gonna shut off within like 3 seconds. So that's what I would do. I would essentially secure the engine. Obviously, if you're close enough to the airport and have enough altitude where you know you can make it. Otherwise, you still have an engine, so leave it on until you're close enough to the airport and have enough altitude to be able to safely land. With that being said, engine failure in flight. With our flow, power, fuel selector, pumps, lanes, master, key, what are we gonna not be able to do if we turn off the master? Flaps. So you can leave the master on, use flaps as needed. Once you've used flaps, you can't go back. So be very generous with when you use those flaps. And then once you know you can make the landing and you've used whatever flap settings you need, then you can turn off the master. Cool. What is the meaning and value of VS?
Speed, which is 45.
And what configuration is that in? Is that flaps extended or a clean configuration flaps up?
Extended or up.
Right? Because flaps, what do? Yes, they provide more drag, but they also provide more lift. So if we have more lift, we're able to get a lot slower with flaps. That would be for VSO. So VSO, what is the value of that?
40.
40. So VSO is stall speed in a landing configuration. That's 40. VS, or you sometimes hear it as like VS1, will be stall speed in any other configuration or a clean configuration. That's 45. Cool. Okay, so we're gonna get into the G3X GTN 650. G3X is going to be our ethos. So when we turn on our ethos switch and our ethos backup, it's going to be for the G3X, our primary flight display. This is what it looks like. Have we already gone through all this? I feel like this was like one of the earlier weeks,
Yeah.
but we'll go through it again, as long as you guys are okay with that.
I mean, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at one of these really that much.
Okay. So on the G3X, on the right-hand side, we're gonna have our moving map, right? Moving map, but it's not like how it is on the G1000 where it moves as we move. If we don't touch the map and we fly along, here's our airplane, we fly along all the way up here, right? Now we're not gonna be able to see our airplane. So we have to physically move the map to center it where our airplane is. You could either do that by putting your finger on the map and dragging up, or you could click this knob in on the bottom right and that'll center it on your aircraft. I personally like to always have the aircraft in view so you can see any traffic or possible landing spots around you. Using this knob, as I mentioned, you click it, it'll center it on your aircraft. If you use the skinny knob or the inner knob, that's going to zoom in and out on this map. You could also use 2 fingers, just like you do in your iPad, to zoom in and out. The thicker knob, or I guess the outer knob, is what's going to cycle you through these different pages on the G3X. First is going to be the map. Up here, we have our comms Sometimes it might not be there, and that could be due to whoever flew it last changed the setting of what's displayed. But typically, most airplanes, most slings are going to have the comms up here. So just like on the GTM 650, you can click on standby. It'll bring up the comm dialog box, and you could enter in whatever comm frequency you want. And that's going to put it in standby. To switch it to primary, you'll tap right here, the primary comm 1, and it'll switch the 122.8 over into primary, and then put this 120.625 into standby. Pretty straightforward. You can do the same thing on the GTM 650. We'll also have a transponder. It'll be automatically set to 1200. When you click on it, it'll allow you to bring up the dialog box and type in a different transponder code. This will be when you're doing instrument stuff, and it'll be when you're doing flight following for cross countries. You'll be assigned a specific transponder or squawk code that's specific to you. So ATC will know it's you because they'll see your squawk code. What's VFR? 1200, what's hijacking? 7500, what's lost comms?
76.
And then what's emergency? Cool.
Michael taught me 7-7 going in heaven, 7-6 just a glitch, and 7-5 man with a knife.
I like that. You'll also you also see the GPS information. So if you are using your GPS and you have something in the flight plan, you're going to see waypoints here with a magenta line, which is the line that is active. That's the segment that you're on. And then a white line, which are going to be the following segments or following legs of the trip. So magenta is what's activated. The white are what to follow. Every sling will have different settings, so you might not see all of this, but you'll typically see your distance. It'll typically say distance until the next waypoint, time and route, and then like your ground speed and track. It'll all have different information, but generally speaking, you'll see those. When you get to instrument, I was taught and refer to this as the scoreboard. You go to a basketball game or football game, the scoreboard's up top, right? So you want to factor this into your instrument scan to be able to just have situational awareness. Like, all right, I'm coming up on a TASI and I'm 19 miles away, and it'll take me 10 minutes to get there. But that's going to be the GPS information. Our airspeed will be here on the left side. This 105, which type of airspeed is that? Indicated. So, and how do we get that reading? Where does that come from? 802. The 113, what type of speed is that? Ground speed. Ground speed. True will be the 115 up here. So TAS, true airspeed 115, GS, ground speed 113. And what weather component affects our ground speed? So if we have a headwind, is our ground speed going to be slower or faster? Tailwind. Cool. And you see right here, showing that we have a 2-knot headwind. Our true airspeed is 115. 115 minus 2, 113. Good. Next, we have our attitude indicator. This little yellow arrow is essentially showing the nose of our aircraft. Then you'll see little tick marks both above the horizon and below. That's going to show your angle of pitch up or pitch down. We have 2.5 degrees for the little tick marks, 5 degrees, and then 7.5, 10, and so on. We also have up here, this is going to show our bank angle. Right here, this big tick mark is going to be 30 degrees. That's going to be like a medium bank turn. This little tick mark is 45. that's where you'll be at for a steep turn. So looking at these arrows right here, these two white arrows, the bottom one should be all the way over here at 45 degrees when you're doing your steep turns. These-
Standard. Rig turn.
The green one, that's standard rate,
At 3 degrees per second.
3 degrees per second, yep. So yeah, these two little green arrows are gonna be standard rate. So when you're lined up the white arrow with the green in either direction, that's going to be a standard rate turn.
Will we ever do 60-degree banks?
Do what?
60-degree banks?
No. Commercial, the farthest you'll go is 50. So, yep, just 45 and just 50. What increases as we increase our bank angle? Load factor. So if we're at 60 degrees, they like, I think almost like 2.5 times or like 3 times or 4 times. It's like something crazy.
Yeah.
Our planes can handle 7 Gs, 7 positive Gs, meaning you pull back. It can handle 7. I don't want to try that. When you're in a steep turn, that's only 1.5 Gs. So you're gonna feel yourself getting pressed in the seat, but you're only experiencing like 1.5 Gs. So 60 degrees, I don't know what that would be, but off here on the right, we have our altimeter. So it's gonna show our altitude right here. What type of altitude is that? Remember the 5 types, there is pressure, density, true, absolute, indicated. Indicated. And this comes from what? What instrument?
Static port.
Static port. So true altitude is going to be your heights above sea level, so MSL. Is indicated always equal to true altitude?
No, has to be adjusted.
So when is it equal?
When the pressure is 2992.
Not standard pressure, but when you have the right local altimeter setting in. Yeah, if you put 2992, that's going to show you pressure altitude. We have our altitude bug here, just used as a reference point, and then we have our altimeter setting, which happens to be standard 2992. But our indicated is only equal to true when we have the local altimeter setting in. So if the altimeter setting is 2995, we put in 2995, our indicated will equal our true altitude. But if we put 3000, our indicated is not accurate at this point. Off here to the right of the altimeter, we have our vertical speed indicator. It'll show positive rate of climb or negative rate of climb, so climb or descent. Pretty straightforward. Typically 500 feet per minute is like the average of what you'll do. We have our turn coordinator, right? So this is going to be referencing how do we keep coordination in flight? What rudders. So when the ball is centered, we are coordinated. If the ball is not centered, we are not coordinated. So when you're doing turns, when you're climbing out, and you need to apply right rudder on the climb out, you'll want to apply enough to where it is centered. Quick example. I'm gonna draw 3 out and I want you guys to tell me right here, which rudder do we need to press?
Left.
Left. If we press left, it should center it. What about right here?
Center.
What about right here? It's way out to the right.
A lot of right.
Right.
A lot of right rudder, or maybe we need to just decrease the left rudder. So it's all situational. If you have, or for whatever reason, you have the left rudder, actually, let's use this one. If you have the right rudder like super jammed in all the way as far as it could go, it might, like on a climb out where you have to press right rudder, you might be giving it too much, which is why it's slightly outside. So if you just release the right rudder a little bit, it could bring it in like this. So step on the ball is essentially the way to remember what rudder you need to use. Or just release a little bit of the rudder. Our wind, which isn't always the most accurate. Pretty accurate, but don't rely on this. What speed do we look at to rely whether we have a headwind or tailwind? Ground speed. So this is just sort of supplemental and gives us an estimate of where the wind is coming from and how strong it is. Our HSI, what does that stand for? Yep. So this is going to show our heading right here. Off to the left, the blue 340 is our bug heading. There's a little heading bug. And then our course 340 is going to be what we have the course set to for GPS or VOR. So normally you won't just see this on the left side, it'll be on the right side. But this is going to be our engine instruments or engine gauges, just like at a glance, right? It's not as in depth, but it's going to show a lot of important information like your RPMs, your manifold, your fuel quantity, your oil temperature, your oil PSI. If you click on it, it's going to bring up the more in-depth engine instrument page. Continuing off of the G3X, so that was on the first page down here, maps. If we go over to charts, there's different charts we could do. We could do a VFR chart, which is what you'll be using, or you could do an IFR chart if you're on your instrument. The next page is going to be waypoints. It's going to bring up airport information. It's going to bring up frequencies. So this is what it'll look like, and you click on it to pull each of them up. So you can click on a frequency, and it'll bring up the frequencies, the ATIS, the tower, ground, and so on for that specific airport. Runway information, you could click on that, and it's going to pull up which runway is in use based off of wind, the runway length, the traffic pattern they're using, stuff like that. You click on weather, which is going to bring up even more tabs. It uses like the Cirrus XM. You could see like cloud layers, you could see winds, you could see thunderstorm information, you could see temperatures, kind of similar stuff that you see on AWC, but in the plane. I'll be honest, I don't use the weather information too much in the plane other than to look at like the current METAR or the current ATIS. But there is a lot of information in there that you should explore. So terminal procedures, this is just going to bring up procedures specific to that airport.
So would they probably wouldn't have, or would they have the noise abatement on that or no?
No, probably not, yeah. The next FPL is our flight plan. This is where you can add waypoints, edit waypoints, delete waypoints, stuff like that. So this magenta line right here is where you could add more legs to your, or more segments to your trip. You can also do this in the GTN 650. That's where I personally like to do it. We already talked about this point to point. So from where we're at to Catalina, it's 19 miles, about 10 minutes of flight time. Ground speed's currently 113 knots. It's a direct track of 340 to Catalina.
How long would it really take us to get to Catalina?
From here, it's about like 1.5, like a little over an hour, hour and a half. But from Torrance, it's like right there. It's like super, super close.
I did it from 1.6.
Yeah. Guess it depends how fast you're going. If we're at 5,400 RPM, you can get there a lot quicker if you have a tailwind. But yeah, so course guidance, right? This is our CVI. This is going to show us whether or not we're deflected off of our course. That's going to show that in degrees, each of these little bubbles. Sometimes it's orientated differently. So if we have the 4 bubbles, it's going to be by 2 degrees, so 2, 4, 6, 8, and then 10 will be fully deflected. And this is going to show it by 5 degrees, or sorry, 4 degrees, and anything past is 10. So full deflection, 10 degrees. It's going to show you a course right here, which we know. So there's going to be a few buttons that we have on the G3X. So we have a direct to button down here. Whatever waypoint is activated, we can click direct to. So if we do end up off course, we can hit direct to, and it'll center that CDI and tell us the course direct to that waypoint.
So if we've had, like, Catalina is our final destination, and we're saying we're going to Palomar, we're going through Palomar. And it's the waypoint. So if we deviate, we're east, you would select that waypoint and then hit direct.
Yeah, so if our waypoints, let's just say we're like this.
And if it's too confusing, try and explain it.
No, let's just say here's all our waypoints. We have KSEE, we have Montgomery, then we cut across to Palomar, CRQ, and then from Palomar, we want to go straight across to, what is it, KSX? No.
KSEE.
Yeah, that's the VOR. I think it's KAVX. So let's just say right now, we just departed Gillespie, and our GPS is sequenced to go to Montgomery. And we get a Bravo clearance, and we're like, oh, fuck it, let's just go direct to Catalina. We can hit direct to, and from our current location, it's going to give us a centered CDI direct to Catalina. It's going to disregard these 2 waypoints and go direct here.
Okay.
That makes
So that's
sense?
your end destination, you know, direct waypoint too.
Whatever destination or whatever waypoint you click on to go direct to, it's going to do that. Okay, the next page is our traffic page. So this is gonna be any traffic alerts and awareness. It's going to show you a different radius, which you can adjust. Right now it's set to 1 nautical mile and 2. You can set it to 2 and 4 or 2 to 6. And it'll show traffic in their general direction as well as their altitude. So this traffic right here is 700 feet above you, traveling left to right. And then lastly, we have the engines page, which is the more detailed page for the engine instruments on the left. So if we click on this over here, it's going to bring up this.
What does CHT stand for?
Coolant head temperature. Yep.
EGT is exhaust.
Yeah.
Tail stream.
Yep. Cool. So we sort of already talked about the AHRS, the attitude heading reference system. But this allows your PFD, your primary flight display, to display what exact attitude the aircraft is in. It's going to use microelectronic processors that uses vibration and laser to detect changes in aircraft attitudes. The accelerometer measures forces in 3 dimensions, and the magnetometer measures heading relative to the Earth's magnetic field. So this right here on the right is going to be that accelerometer, and as it moves, it's changing the orientation of what's displayed. So our heading indicator, as we bank, climb, descend, it's going to be showing that indication is based off the accelerometer. Our magnetometer is going to give us that heading relative to the Earth's magnetic field. Good. Our ADC, or air data computer, works together with the AHRS by taking information gathered by the pitot tube, static port, and the outside air temperature probe, and displays it to the pilot. The ADC is in charge of calculating the plane's airspeed, altitude, vertical speed, angle of attack, and outside air temperature. So I'm not sure if this is what it looks like in the Sling, or if it's pretty universal. but somewhere inside the instrument panel, there was an air data computer, which takes the information from those pieces of equipment, has a bunch of sensors, and then displays that to us in the cockpit. Okay, do you guys want to start the GTN 650? I know you have a flight. We only.
This might be more relevant for me than them anyways, because they're in the cockpit.
Oh, this is we only have two, so we'll just go for it. 2 slides.
I mean, I'm okay with it. They go like, yes, they're flying, so for me, it's like trying to get familiar.
Cool. So the Garmin GTN 650 is installed in all new Sling 2s. This is essentially our GPS system, which has many of the same functions as the G3X. We can adjust comms, we can adjust nav, we can adjust our flight plan, and so on. But
They're connected, right?
they're interconnected, yeah. So if you put information on this, it's going to show on the G3X and vice versa. All of your instrument approaches, when you get to that, you'll be able to load into the GTN 650. There is an app, right? That GTN trainer that I showed you guys,
Yeah.
where you can go and experience and mess around with the GTN 650. It does cost a few dollars. So if that's worth it to you, then I recommend it.
I thought it was free.
Oh, maybe it's free, yeah. Maybe they changed it, but over a year ago, it used to cost. And then lastly, our G5 is a backup instrument for the Sling aircraft. Yep. Many older aircraft are replacing the gauges, the steam gauges with the G5, has a bunch of different uses. Essentially, it's our G3X attitude indicator just on a mini screen. It has like an 8-hour battery life, and its own ADC and AHRS system. So it kind of answers what we talked about yesterday. It has its own ADC and own AHRS. It still comes from the same temperature probe, the same pitot tube, the same static port, but its own ADC and AHRS. So that's why the information is slightly different. In the case that the main EFIS fails, the information on the G5 will be trustworthy and accurate. So if your G3X completely blocks out and stops working, you still have this, which provides all the same information. Any questions? I know a lot of this is kind of foreign to you because you haven't been in the plane, but as soon as you get in the plane, you'll have that ground knowledge and you can go and
Start practicing.
start practicing.
Yeah, so first this flight's about 7 a.m. I don't know if we'll even fly.
Oh, yeah.
So in that case, I just
Still,
show up,
so-
or do I reach out to my
if you
instructor?
have Discord,
Yeah,
so they have a weather shift chat in there where every evening they put in a weather shift. Based off the weather, they're gonna shift the schedule to where they think flights will be able to start based off the weather. So today it was like 1 p.m.
so it's scheduled shift.
Not schedule, oh, yes, schedule shift, sorry.
Oh, yeah, because I got 1 p.m. Okay, so. And they'll do that early? I guess they did it at 5. Yeah.
It ranges, sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's 7, sometimes 6,
Check it before you go to bed.
yeah.
Okay, but it will be updated before I go to bed.
Yes, unless you go to bed at 5 p.m. Yeah.
I'm not that old yet.
All right, Zoom folks, adios, see you tomorrow.
All right, cool.